Day 805 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 3312, sorted GCD pair queries. The difficulty level is hard, but don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go in and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. You are given an integer array nums of length n and an integer array queries. Let GCD pairs denote any array obtained by calculating the GCD of all possible pairs nums of I, nums of j, where 0 is less than or equal to I, and I is less than j, and j is less than n, and then sorting these values in ascending order. For each queries of I, you need to find the element at index queries of I in GCD pairs. Return an integer array answer where answer of I is the value at GCD pairs queries of I for each query. The term GCD A-B denotes the greatest common divisor of A and B. All right, y'all, so that may seem a little bit confusing at first, so let's go ahead and take a look at these examples just to make sure that we are doing this problem correctly. So in example 1, we have our input nums equals an array of integers 2, 3, 4. Queries is also an array of integers 0, 2, 2. The output is an array of integers 1, 2, 2. So let's break this down one step further to see how we got this output from this input, right? So the explanation says the GCD pairs are going to be the GCD of nums of 0, nums of 1. So these are the pairs right here. So let me just put them like that. 2, 3, that is nums of 0, nums of 1. Then we need nums of 0, nums of 2, which would be 2, 4. And then we need nums of 1, nums of 2, which would be 3, 4. Boom. So these are all of the pairs that we can create from this array, right? This array, these are the pairs we could do. We could pair 2, 3, we could pair 2, 4, or we could pair 3, 4, right? That's what these represent over here. Boom. Now, once we have these, we need to find the GCD of each. So the GCD of 2 and 3 would be 1. The GCD of 2 and 4 would be 2. And then the GCD of 3 and 4 would be 1 again, right? So boom, that's where this 1, 2, 1 comes from. From the GCD of this is 1. Sorry, R1 right here. The GCD of this pair is 2. And then the GCD of this pair is 1. Boom. Then we need to sort them. After sorting them, it looks like this. So let's just copy and paste this. Boom. After sorting these, we get this. Boom. So let's just say sorted. Boom. Now we have this. Now that we have this, now we're going to pay attention to the queries and we're going to query our output from this. So boom. Let's put output. So first we're going to query index 0. And we're going to build the array right here. So first we're going to query index 0. Boom. Index 0 is a 1. So we put a 1 right here. Boom. Then we're going to query index 2. Index 2 is a 2. Boom. So we put a 2 right here. Then we'll query index 2 again. Index 2 is a 2. So we put a 2 again. And thus, in the end, this is our final output, y'all. Boom. And that's how we got it. Now, just in case that didn't make sense, let's take a look at example 2. So in example 2, our input nums equals an array of integers 4, 4, 2, 1. Queries equals an array of integers 5, 3, 1, 0. The output is an array of integers 4, 2, 1, 1. It says the GCD pairs sorted in ascending order are 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 4. Boom. So let's go ahead and do this one as well. So let's get the pairs. So we could do 4, 4. Let's get all our pairs. We have 6 pairs. So the first pair, we could do 4, 4. Boom. Then the next pair, we could do 4, 2. Sorry, y'all. Next pair could be 4, 2, right? That's this 4 and this 2. Then we do this 4 and this 1. So, boom. Next pair would be 4, 1. Boom. Then we got to do this 4 and this 2. So we got another 4, 2. 4, 2. Actually, yeah, this 4 and this 2. Then we gotta do this 4 and this 1. So we do 4 and 1, and then we have to do this 2. Sorry, y'all. This 2 and this 1. Boom. So then 2, 1. So these are our 6 pairs right here. So now let's get the GCD of each. GCD. Boom. So the GCD of 4 and 4 would be 4. Then 4 and 2 would be 2. 4 and 1 would be 1. 4 and 2 would be 2. That would be 1, and that would be 1. Boom. Now let's sort these. So sorted would be 1, or say 1, 1, 1, 2. Sorry, 2, 2, 4. Boom. Let's make sure. Oh, sorry, that should be a 4. Let's make sure this matches this, and it does. Boom. So now that we have this, now it's time to build our output with the query. So let's put the array. So first we're going to do index 5. Index 5 is a 4. Boom. So we put a 4 right here. Boom. Then we want index 3. Index 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Index 3 is a 2. So we put a 2 right here. Boom. Then we want index 1. Index 1 is a 1. So we put a 1 right here. And then we want index 0. Index 0 is another 1. So we put a 1 right here. And this should be the output, 4221, array of integers, and array of integers, 4221. Boom, that's how we got it. Hope that makes sense. Now, just in case that didn't make sense, let's take a look at example 2. So in example 2, our input nums equals an array of integers 2, 2. Queries equals an array of integers 0, 0. The output is 2, 2. The pairs, there's only one pair, which is 2. So in this case, we have the 2 2s. That's the only pair, right? Then we query. Okay, let's just go through it, right? We have our 2 2s. Boom. Then we query, or we sort that, or excuse me, the GCD of 2 2 would be 2. Boom. Now we just query this GCD twice because we have a 0. So we have the output. Boom. Query index 0 once. We get a 2. Boom. Then we query index 0 again. We get another 2. Boom. And then that's our output, y'all. That's how we got it. So boom, I hope that makes sense to y'all. And now that we understand the question, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. The solution is not that difficult at all. Now, the first thing we are going to do is we need to find the largest value in the array, and this will determine the maximum possible GCD value we need to consider. So we'll say let max val equal nums.max, put the parentheses and put the exclamation point. Boom. Now we need to store how many times the value appears in nums. So we'll declare a variable called freq. We'll set that equal to an array. Open up the parentheses. It's going to be repeating colon 0, comma count colon max val plus 1. Boom. Now we're going to build the frequency table. So we're going to come underneath this and we're going to say for x in nums. We're going to open up the bracket and we're going to say freq square bracket x plus equals 1. Boom. Now we need to store how many numbers in nums are divisible by d. So we come underneath this, declare a variable called cnt, and set that equal to an array. Open up parentheses, repeating colon 0, comma count colon max val plus 1. Boom. Then we're going to come underneath this and we're going to say if max val is greater than or equal to 1. We'll open up the brackets, and for every possible divisor b, we're going to say for d in 1 dot 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 max val. We'll open up the brackets, we'll declare a variable called m, set that equal to d, and we're going to visit every multiple of d. So we'll say while m is less than or equal to max val, we're going to open up the brackets, and every multiple contributes its frequency because it's divisible by d. So we're going to say CNT square bracket d, come outside of this, we're going to say plus equals freq square bracket m, come underneath that, and we'll say m plus equals d. Boom. Now, we need to store the number of pairs whose GCD is exactly equal to g. So we'll come underneath this, we'll declare a variable called exact pairs, and we'll set that equal to an array, open up the parentheses, repeating, colon, int 64, square bracket 0, come outside of that, comma, count, colon, max val plus 1. Boom. Then we'll come underneath this, and we'll say if max val is greater than or equal to 1, we are going to say we need to process the GCD values from the largest to smallest, and this allows us to subtract pairs that belong to the larger multiples first. So I'm going to say for g in stride, open up the parentheses, from, colon, max val, comma, through, colon, 1, comma, by, colon, negative 1, come outside of that, we'll open up the brackets, and the number of values divisible by g will be let c equal int 64, open up the parentheses, passing CNT square bracket g. Now the total number of pairs that are divisible by g, we need to store that, and this by creating a variable called pairs, and we'll set that equal to c times, open up the parentheses, c minus 1, come outside of that, and we'll divide that by 2. Then we're going to remove pairs whose GCD is actually a larger multiple of g. So we'll come underneath this, declare a variable called multiple equals g times 2. Boom. Then we'll say while multiple is less than or equal to max val, we'll open up the brackets, and we'll say pairs minus equals exact pairs square bracket multiple. Then we'll come underneath this, and we'll say multiple plus equals g. Then the remaining pairs have GCD exactly equal to g, so we come underneath this, and we say exact pairs square bracket g equals pairs. Now the prefix, we need to create a variable called prefix, which will store the cumulative number of pairs whose GCD is less than or equal to g. So we'll come underneath this, we'll declare a variable called prefix, and we'll set that equal to an array, open up the parentheses, repeating, colon, int 64, parentheses 0, come outside of that, comma, count, colon, max val plus 1. Then we'll come underneath this, and we'll say if max val is less than or equal to 1, boom, we're going to build the prefix sum array by we're going to say for g n1 dot 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 max val. We're going to open up the parentheses, and we're going to say prefix square bracket g, come outside of that, equals prefix square bracket g minus 1, come outside of that, plus exact pairs square bracket g. Boom. Now we need to store the answers for each query. So we come right here, declare a variable called ans, and we'll set that equal to an array integers, initialize it with the parentheses like that. Then we're going to say ands dot reserve capacity, open up the parentheses, queries dot count. Then we need to process each query independently. So we'll come underneath this and we'll say for Q in queries. We'll open up the brackets. And the queries are 0 index, so convert to the corresponding one base pair position. So say let target equal int 64, open up the parentheses, and we'll say Q plus 1. Then we're going to use binary search for the smallest GCD value whose cumulative pair count reaches target. So we'll come underneath this, declare a variable called low, set that equal to 1, declare another variable called high, and set that equal to max val. Then we're going to say while low is less than high, we'll open up the brackets, we'll say let mid equal, open up the parentheses, low plus high, come outside of that, divide that by 2. And if we've already reached the desired pair, we're going to search the left half. So we'll say if prefix square bracket mid is greater than or equal to target, we're going to open up the brackets, we'll say high equal to mid. Then we'll come right here, we'll say else, we'll open up the brackets, and we'll say low equals mid plus 1. Boom. Now low is the answer for this query, so we're going to come right here and we're going to say ands dot append, open up the parentheses, pass in low. Then we're going to come down here and all we have to do is say return ands, y'all. Not that bad. 73 lines. Not that bad, y'all. Let's give it a run. I know it's a doozy of a problem, but we still got it on our first try, so let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. And look at that, y'all. 24 milliseconds beats 100% of users. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to see, y'all. So, with that being said, make sure you get one more look at the code. That's the top part. This is the middle part. This is the bottom of the middle part. This is the bottom of the middle part. And this is the bottom of the code, y'all. And yeah, with that being said, I hope y'all learned something today. And I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.